Welcome to episode 32 of Chris Cast. My name is Chris Abraham. This episode is going to be my Fabulistic episode, where I portray an American shadow government of a shadow President Hillary Clinton, a shadow president running in parallel with a Donald Trump. So let's explore that. If you need to know what the definition of fabulist is, Alexa, what is the definition of the word fabulist?
Fabulist is usually defined as a person who invents or relates fables. For more, ask me to give you more definitions for fabulist.
Give me more definitions of fabulist.
I have one more definition for the noun. Fabulist, a liar.
Perfect. Come right back after the ad. Talk to you soon. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's where I started my podcast. It's where I edited my podcast. It's where I put sound design into my podcast. And it's where I monetize my podcast. And it's from where I share my podcast to every single other podcast platform. It's the place that I decided is the easiest and best place for me to podcast. Thank you. Check it out. Welcome back. This is Chris Abraham. Chris Cast, episode 32, on November 1st, Sunday. This is going to be my fabulous liar, Imagineer episode where I posit crazy conspiracy theories that I think would be awesome if they were true, and are probably completely true because of the way all of my women friends reacted upon the loss of Hillary Clinton, and how Hillary and her posse really disappeared into the background. And I posit that she and her entire administration exist and are very aggressive and defiant and active as a shadow government, as a shadow presidency, as a shadow administration, shadow president Hillary Rodham Clinton, and that's what I posit. I come to that for many reasons. First of all, it's been amazing how extremely well harnessed the bureaucracy is, and how well organized the bureaucracy is during the Trump campaign, and then during the Trump first term in office. The people who have been disrupting the Trump White House have been aggressive. They've been very high in the administration. They've been very high in the State Department. They've been very high in the intelligence community, including, and they've been very high in the Department of Defense. The only kind of access that would be viable in terms of an active defiance, an active resistance, a shadow government. And I'm not talking a shadowy government. I'm not talking about men in black and reptilian queens. I'm not talking about an over-government, an overarching globalism. I'm just talking about a presidency in parallel, an active with orders and with strategy and tactics and with a vision for tomorrow, being run as though elected into office and living in the White House, the administration of Hillary Clinton. And This would be very much similar to what's happening in Venezuela or what is happening in Syria, right? There's Assad, and Assad is the official is the official president of Syria. But then there's a shadow government which the United States endorses, and then there's, hey Google, who's the president of Venezuela?
Here's a summary from Wikipedia. The President of Venezuela, officially known as the President of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela, is the head of state and head of government in Venezuela. The President leads the national executive of the Venezuelan government and is
Alexa,
the
stop.
Commander-in-Chief of the National Bolivarian
Hey
Armed
Google,
Forces.
stop. Who is the current president of Venezuela? Alexa, who's the current president of Venezuela?
Nicolás Maduro was re-elected president of Venezuela in May 2018, but according to the Organization of American States, the current interim president of Venezuela is Juan Guaido. By the way, I noticed you haven't asked me to play music in a while. Remember, you can just say, play top hits.
No, thank you. So there's Maduro, and then there's Guaido, right? Alexa, who's the current president of Syria?
The president of Syria is Bashar al-Assad.
So each of these two countries, they have their proper, quote, dictators, the proper nationalists who are considered by, I guess, their people or by other countries as being the official acknowledged holder of the title, who lives in the presidential palace or whatnot, and who makes decrees and has them followed out by the military, by the government, etc., etc., etc. Now, back in 2000, I was supporting Gore, right, in the Gore v. Bush thing, the fiasco, and so I was part of this thing. Nico Mele invited me to work with him and Ariana Huffington on this thing called the Shadow Convention, and it happened, in June, July, or something like that of 2000, and it was in support of. It was a counter messaging shadow convention that shadowed the convention that was happening by the conservatives and Republicans, and it would talk about fairness and ethics and social programs and medicine and healthcare, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And it was meant to be actively counter messaging, but also defiant and counter and disruptive. And the moment, I remember someone saying on Facebook or somewhere that the moment Trump finally hit the White House and it was guaranteed that Hillary was not going to be president of the United States in 2016, the entire campaign went dark. The entire campaign completely submerged, very similar, to a nuclear sub in the North Atlantic. There's been a couple funny and cheeky interviews with Hillary and Chelsea, and of course, Bill has been all over the place, but there's nobody in the world who has better connections, better power connections than Hillary and Bill. Bill from being president and Hillary from being an essential part of the Obama administration in the State Department. And so that's what I'm going to posit. That's the reason why the resistance movement, ever since Trump was sworn in January, the reason why he's been dealing with nothing but complete and utter obstructions in my fabulous lie is that Hillary has an entire team, an entire administration of strategists, of actors, of politicians, and of people who are deeply embedded and working on her behalf, as opposed to on the behalf of Donald J. Trump. My friend Mark fancies that Trump is a plant, and Trump is completely a New York elite, maybe a little bit lowbrow, but a complete liberal elite, New York City, socially liberal, socially fiscally conservative, socially liberal New Yorker, just like any New Yorker, and that he's been playing a part. And as I've told you before, I feel and think very strongly that the part that Donald Trump has been playing is the part of the WWE, WWF, the heel, right? Hey Google, what is a wrestling heel?
According to Wikipedia, in professional wrestling, a heel is a wrestler who portrays a villain or a bad guy and acts as an antagonist to the faces, who are the heroic protagonist or good guy characters.
Alexa, what's the definition of a wrestling heel?
Here's something I found on the web. According to Goliath.com, it's fake, predetermined, choreographed, scripted, and presented as if it were real.
Hey Google, what's the definition of a wrestling
That's not
face?
a name I can respond to.
According to Wikipedia, in professional wrestling, a face is a heroic or a good guy wrestler, booked by the promotion with the aim of being cheered by fans. Traditionally, they wrestle within the rules and avoid cheating while behaving positively towards the referee and the audience.
Oh my God, those definitions are even better than I could have expected. Oh my God, I'm a little verklempt right now. Yeah. So either way, it's amazingly interesting, considering imagining that Hillary is in a bunker somewhere, actively sending cables, if you will, to people in the CIA and in the FBI and in the Department of State, and sending cables, if you will, to diplomats around the world, diplomats in Ukraine, sending double secret cables from her unsecured web server, mail server, to people in the State Department and people in the various and sundry other government areas, sending in spies into the White House. It's all so sexy. I think that part of the Pussy Hat Women's March was organizational. I think that there's all kinds of communications that I can't be a part of through people who are deeply vetted. A lot of my friends from Renaissance Weekend, probably. I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case. And I'm just making all this up. I just think it's a very fun thought experiment to believe that that instead of just taking spirited walks and hikes through the woods like Hillary Clinton has been purported and reported of doing, she was in fact sitting at a giant round table, not unlike the table, the strategy war room that was in Dr. Strangelove, underneath some amazing giant boards, huge televisions with current current subversive a task list, a shopping list of subversions to be perpetrated against the Trump White House and against Donald Trump and his legions of deplorables, including Black Lives Matter, including Not My President, including of course, what was the one? Well, anyway, I think I'm running out of clever insight into this. There's just no way that the choreography and the persistence and consistency and the holding on to strategies that are very much just mere strategies that have been used before, such as the constant reiteration that Trump is in Putin's pocket, the constant repetition, almost Republican in nature, even baseless after being debunked over and over and over, that Russia is behind everything. Russia's behind, and it would take a cold warrior like Hillary Clinton to realize that very deep down, even after the collapse of the Soviet Union in 1989, there's a real suspicion about the true nature of what Russia is and what Russia aspires to be, and you can always get away with ginning up people based on whether or not a former KGB officer has an interest in undermining American norms and values and mores. And even further, one might argue that this is a long game revenge against the collapse of the Soviet Union in the first place, and that it's taken this long to build up the international strength and the international wealth in the end to get Russia back on its feet well enough to enact the kind of vengeance against the United States that Russia has been feeling, that would, in many ways set the pH balance back into normality. To say nothing of the constant and unending political and financial restrictions that have been put against, that have been leveraged against this Russia for the last 20 years, 30 years, against their billionaires, against their businessmen, and all based on who knows if these corruption charges are true? Who knows whether this is just manipulation in much the same way that decades after Cuba was a real threat to America, we've insisted on putting blockades up against Venezuela and Cuba, right? Just multi-generational tribal stuff, not knowing how to act any other way. Anyway, we'll go to a second commercial break, and then we'll close out. We'll talk to you soon. Thanks for listening to this silly brainstorm. Welcome back, episode 32, Chris Cast. My cockamamie theory that Hillary Clinton is actively in a role that she and her minions and her posse consider to be if you will, a shadow presidency in a shadow government with shadow influence, and as a direct intervention, if you will, constant undermining of the Trump White House, of Trump orders, of Trump, if you will, she is acting like a very, very unhappy, very dissatisfied union organizer, and she has the power within the larger corporation of sneaking around and throwing wrenches into the machines of government, and holding slowdowns and sit-down strikes and all these other types of subversive and disruptive behaviors that have then and oh my God, we haven't even talked about mainstream media. Wow. That's too controversial. If I start talking about how much liberal bias that mainstream media has, from the Washington Post to the New York Times. I mean, it's just the Atlantic always has. So is the New Yorker, but that'll just lose me credibility. And I don't mean this to be anything more than just the rantings of a liar and a madman, intentionally fabulous, so that and maybe a little fabulous, so that you guys can machinate on this theory with me, and we can bring it to the fore. Since there's only 2 more days, 1 more day, 2 more days until the election, and we find out what happens. If I put my money down, it would be Trump's going to win again, because you can't assume what's going to happen in student government if the 80% of your dumb school decides to participate. You don't get what you want in student government if most of the time nobody cares about student government. But if you can get everybody all liquored up, if you get everybody ginned up about it, you'll be surprised how unenlightened, uninspired, unprogressive, how stoic, and like I said in yesterday's, in today, but yesterday's podcast, we Americans are very proud, very proud of our nationalism. We're proud of our populism. We're not ashamed of these things. We're proud of our wild, wild west. We're rugged, our narrative defines ourselves as rugged individualists. We like the idea of guns. We love Renaissance weekends. We love going to really, think about how stupid Disneyland and Disney World and Orlando and everything else is. I mean, I know all y'all love those places, but just think how stupid Las Vegas is, and how stupid Disney World is, and how stupid Disneyland is, and how stupid Six Flags are. The Six Flags are, and how dumb all these things are. They're just stupid. They're not enlightened. They're just fun, right? There's a frontierism that Americans pursue, whether or not we have the wiry tenacity of our frontiersmen. We might be soft and fat and close to death, and our guns might be sitting on our bubble bellies, and we might not be able to even walk upstairs, and we can barely climb up into our F-350. But by God, we love that stuff, right? We do not hearken towards a better world. We hearken back to a simpler time. it's just antithetical for us to even think that we want, I mean, in a real way, to even think that we want jetpacks or that we want freeze-dried future food or flying cars or any of that. I mean, I think we don't want anything close to a Green New Deal. We don't want any restrictions on our ability to buy used cars and drive our beaters and get that hallowed black license plate that says that, you know, my car is vintage and that I have a car that's over 25 or 30 years old and that it's still, my Model A is still running. And I don't have to take it off the road. I can drive my Model A around town, and it can go boom, you know, booka, and create a big poof of smoke. And I could buy a car for $1,500 and don't have to leverage my life buying a plug-in vehicle. And then what about people in apartment buildings, right? What about the $30,000 premium that electric vehicles cost when I could get a car for $1,500 off of Facebook if I want one? Or my dreams are all about old motorcycles that have the, if you will, the octopus snorkel taken off. You know, people in Virginia can still cut out their catalytic converter and still get their cars past the through the, what is it, safety checks, right? Nobody wants. They want their diesel. They want their diesel Chevrolets. They want their Cummins, man. They want their Cummins diesels, and they want their 12 bangers and 8 bangers. They want their V8s. They want their Harleys. They don't want their EVs, man. And that's just cars. That has nothing to do with I bet you in the future, fireplaces aren't cool, right? Fireplaces can't be cool. I mean, you can smell a fireplace in a neighborhood, right? If you're burning logs and stuff, that can't be good for the environment. Burning trees in a box in your house that go out a chimney, man, that can't be good. Wintertime's coming. That can't be good for the environment. The future's got to be, that can't be a flue. You can't FLUE. There can't be frickin' fireplaces. You certainly can't have coal-fired stoves. You can't have pot-bellied stoves. What are you going to do, man? We don't want to do that. We want to live. We want to live in the 19th century, brother. We want to live in the 19th century and then have access to smartphones and the internet. That's what we want, brother. That's what we want, says the fantabulous, the fabulist, the liar. Anyway, let's see what happens when I come back after this. Maybe this will be the end. Welcome back. Episode 32, Chris Cast. My name's Chris Abraham. If you enjoyed this, thumbs up. Give me good reviews. Come visit me, chrisabraham.com. Talk to me at calendly.com/chrisabraham/15. I'm on Twitter at Chris Abraham. I'm at YouTube, youtube.com/Chris Abraham. I'm at facebook.com/Chris Abraham. I'm at instagram.com/Chris Abraham. You can email me at chris@abraham.su. You can Text me at +1 202 352 5051. You can try to call that number, but I won't answer unless we have a play date scheduled. That's it. I don't know what I forgot. Hopefully this amused you or made you think. I still think Trump's going to have 2 terms, but I would love to be proved wrong. I would love it, love it, love it. And I'll talk to you the next time. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.